You trusted someone completely once. Maybe it was a parent who made you feel like everything you did was either a gift to them or a betrayal. Maybe it was a friend who made you feel lucky just to be in the room with them until you realized they only called when they needed something. Maybe it was a relationship where you lost yourself so slowly you didn't notice until you were standing in the wreckage wondering who you even were anymore. And here's the part nobody tells you. The damage isn't what they did to you. The damage is what they left behind in your operating system. The way you now scan every room for threats. The way you test people before you let them close. The way you either trust too fast because you're desperate to believe someone is finally safe, or you trust no one at all because you've decided that's the only way to survive. I'm not here to help you heal in the way therapists talk about healing. I'm here to rewire the machinery they broke. Because right now, your ability to read who deserves access to your life is corrupted. You're either letting the wrong people in because they pattern match to something familiar, or you're keeping everyone out because you've confused isolation with protection. Both responses feel like strength. Both are actually the narcissist still winning years after they left your life. Over the next 30 days, we're going to rebuild your trust architecture from the foundation up, not so you can become soft again, so you can become accurate. Let's start with what a narcissist actually does to your psychology, because most people misunderstand this completely. They think narcissistic abuse is about someone being mean to you or selfish or difficult. That's not it. A narcissist doesn't just mistreat you. They colonize your perception. They get inside your reality testing mechanism and scramble the signals. They do this through a very specific pattern. They start by making you feel seen in a way no one else ever has. They study you. They reflect back the version of yourself you most want to believe in. This is called mirroring, and it feels like finally being understood. Then, once you're hooked on that feeling, they start to withdraw it. Not all at once, in microdoses. Just enough to make you work harder, doubt yourself more, try to get back to that initial golden feeling. This creates what's called an intermittent reinforcement loop, and it is the most powerful psychological hook that exists. It's why gambling addicts keep pulling the lever. It's why you kept trying to please someone who was never going to be pleased. Your brain got wired to chase inconsistent rewards, and that wiring doesn't just disappear when the narcissist does. It stays active. It makes you distrust people who are consistent, because consistency feels boring, suspicious, or even weak. And it makes you attracted to people who run hot and cold, because that pattern feels like intensity, like passion, like something worth fighting for. This is the corruption we're going to clean out. Day 1 through day 7 is about mapping the damage. You can't fix what you can't see, and right now there are beliefs operating in your subconscious that you didn't choose. They were installed. So for the first week, you're going to run a specific audit on yourself. Every time you interact with someone and feel a strong emotional charge, positive or negative, you're going to write down what triggered it, not the surface story. The pattern underneath. Did someone's approval make you feel like you finally existed? That's a sign your sense of self is still outsourced. Did someone's mild criticism feel like an existential threat? That's a sign you're still operating from the wound, not from reality. Did someone being genuinely kind make you suspicious, like they must want something? That's a sign the narcissist taught you that love always has a price. Most people skip this step. they want tactics. They want to know how to spot narcissists in the future so they never get hurt again. But here's what they don't understand. You can memorize every red flag in existence, and you'll still end up with another narcissist if your internal compass is broken. Because you won't see the red flags when you're in it. You'll explain them away, you'll make excuses. You'll feel that familiar intensity and mistake it for connection. The first week isn't about the other people in your life. It's about getting honest with yourself about what's been corrupted in your own operating system. Week 2, days 8 through 14 is where we start rebuilding your baseline. Here's something nobody tells you about recovering from narcissistic relationships. You've lost track of what normal actually feels like. The narcissist didn't just hurt you. They recalibrated your sense of acceptable treatment. Whatever their behavior became your new 0 point. If they gave you crumbs of affection occasionally, crumbs started to feel like a meal. If they exploded over small things, you learned to walk on eggshells and call it keeping the peace. If they disappeared emotionally for days, you learned to make yourself smaller, need less, ask for nothing. And when you finally got out, you didn't snap back to healthy expectations. You kept that warped baseline. You kept tolerating things that should have been deal breakers because they weren't as bad as what you'd already survived. This is why so many people leave one narcissist and end up with another. Not because they're stupid, but because their tolerance threshold got broken. Week 2 is about resetting that threshold deliberately. You're going to identify 3 to 5 people in your life who've been consistently decent to you over time. Not perfect, just consistent. And you're going to study them like a scientist. How do they handle disagreements? How do they respond when you say no to them? What happens when you can't give them what they want? You're going to use these people as your new calibration points. Not because they're going to be your inner circle necessarily, but because you need data on what healthy actually looks like. Your reference point got poisoned. These people are the antidote. During this week, you're also going to start practicing something that will feel deeply uncomfortable. You're going to let good things land. When someone compliments you, you're not going to deflect or minimize. When someone offers help, you're not going to reflexively refuse. When something goes well, you're not going to immediately brace for the punishment that usually followed good things when you were with the narcissist. This is harder than it sounds. The narcissist trained you to associate good moments with danger because they often used your happiness against you. They'd punished you for being too confident, too successful, too comfortable. So you learn to stay small, stay braced, never fully enjoy anything. Week 2 is about teaching your nervous system that good things can exist without a trapdoor underneath them. Week 3, days 15 through 21, is where we get surgical about who deserves access to your life. Here's the framework I want you to burn into your brain. Trust is not binary, and it is not static. You don't either trust someone or not trust someone. Trust has levels, and those levels should be earned through evidence over time. The narcissist trained you to either give everything to someone who mirrored you perfectly, or to withhold everything, because everyone is potentially dangerous. Both of those responses are broken. The healthy model is progressive trust, where access to you is earned in stages, and it can also be revoked if someone's behavior warrants it. Think of it like a building with multiple security clearances. The lobby is public. Anyone can be there. That's small talk, casual acquaintances, people you interact with but haven't evaluated yet. The first floor is for people who have shown basic consistency and respect over time. They get access to your real opinions, your actual personality, not the mask. The second floor is for people who have demonstrated loyalty when it was inconvenient for them. They get access to your vulnerabilities, your fears, the things that could be used against you. The penthouse is for people who have proven through sustained behavior that they will protect what you share with them. That level takes years to earn, and most people will never get there. This isn't cynicism. This is architecture. During week 3, you're going to categorize every significant relationship in your life according to this framework. You're going to ask yourself honestly, what floor have they actually earned, and what floor have I been letting them access? Most people who've been through narcissistic abuse have this completely backwards. They let strangers and new acquaintances into the penthouse because of intensity and mirroring, while keeping genuinely safe people stuck in the lobby because their consistency feels suspicious. You're going to correct this. You're going to start matching access to evidence. Week 4, days 22 through 30 is about stress testing the new system. You've mapped the damage, reset your baseline, and built a framework for progressive trust. Now we find out if it actually works under pressure. Because here's the truth. Narcissists and manipulators don't announce themselves. They're most dangerous when they're most charming. They're studying you the same way you should be studying them. So week 4 is about running real-world tests that reveal character without you having to wait years for someone to show their true face. The first test is the inconvenience test. Ask for something small but inconvenient. Change plans last minute. Need something when it doesn't benefit them to provide it. Watch how they respond when meeting your needs costs them something. A healthy person might be slightly annoyed, but will communicate that directly and still show up. A narcissist will either punish you for having needs or will comply but make you pay for it later through withdrawal, passive aggression, or keeping score. The second test is the boundary test. Say no to something they want. Not in an aggressive way, just a simple decline. A healthy person will accept this without drama. A narcissist will either push back immediately, trying to override your boundary, or they'll accept it in the moment and then erode it slowly over time, testing to see if you'll hold the line. The third test is the success test, and this one is crucial. Share a win with them, something you're genuinely proud of. Watch their face in the first half second before they compose their response. A healthy person shows real happiness for you, the kind that reaches their eyes. A narcissist shows a flash of something else first, envy, competitiveness, or a subtle tightening. Then they recover and say the right words, but that first flash tells you everything. They cannot be genuinely happy for your success because your success feels like their diminishment. That flash is the narcissist's signature, and once you know what to look for, you will see it everywhere. Here's what I need you to understand as we close this out. This 30-day process is not about becoming paranoid. It's not about assuming everyone is a narcissist or building walls so high that no one can reach you. That's just another form of the narcissist winning. They wanted you isolated. They wanted you too damaged to connect with anyone else. Becoming a complete fortress is letting them have exactly what they wanted. The goal is accuracy. The goal is being able to distinguish between someone who is genuinely safe and someone who is running the same playbook that hurt you before. The goal is trusting the right people at the right pace, based on evidence rather than hope or fear. Most people never do this work. They either stay so open that they get hurt again, or they stay so closed that they miss the connections that could have actually healed them. They don't rebuild their trust architecture because rebuilding requires admitting how badly it was damaged, and that admission feels like weakness. But it's not weakness. It's the only path to actual strength. A man who can read people accurately, who grants access based on evidence, who can hold boundaries without becoming rigid, that man is untouchable. Not because he's isolated, but because he's intelligent about who gets into his world. The narcissist taught you a broken game. They made you think trust was all or nothing, that people were either saviors or threats. That intensity was the same as intimacy. Those lessons are still running in your background code, making decisions for you, keeping you stuck in patterns that don't serve you. The 30 days I've laid out here are about uninstalling that programming and replacing it with something that actually works. Something that protects you without imprisoning you. Something that lets the right people in and keeps the wrong people out. You didn't deserve what happened to you. But what you do with the aftermath is entirely your choice. The narcissist broke something. Now you're going to build something better in its place.